the Jesse Kelly Show on a Wednesday. And joining me now is my friend, fellow United States Marine, Julio Rosas. Julio, before we get into all the things you do, you and I were just having a discussion off air about formation, and you asked me if I was always at the front of the formation. And then we got cut off because we had to do this radio show. But I would like you to elaborate for everybody. What do you mean front of the formation? Why would you assume such a thing about me?
Well, because it's what we call in the biz freakishly tall. That is a description we could use for you. And me being of Mexican descent, I am not. But the good news is though, because I trained at Camp Pendleton so we had
like all Marines do, real Marines.
We have the hills, right?
Of course.
But when I went to my reserve unit in Quantico, they all went to Parris Island, and so even though I was a bit on the short end for all the hikes, I was still at the front of the formation. And when they asked that, then I was like, well, because I actually train on hills and stuff.
Just to let all the civilian types know, they generally put the taller people at the front of the formation, which seems almost unnecessarily cruel, but you understand how it works out in the end. The taller people with the longer legs have a bit of an easier time humping because the legs are longer. The shorter guys tend to, it's more difficult. Remember, Julio has to take twice as many steps as I do, but the toughest ones are always the shortest.
For you,
ones.
I think it's 3.
It's not 3. It's not 3. Let's not exaggerate. All right, I want to talk about, first of all, you know, United States Marine, you have this great life, and now you do this street reporting where you're constantly throwing yourself into the most dangerous situations possible. Do you have some kind of like death fetish or something?
You know, I actually have been asked that if I have a death wish. And to that, I always say, no, I don't think so. But my mom would tell me that, you know, you need to probably work some things out. And I'm like, hey, you know, look, it's funny because I am addicted to the adrenaline rush in that way only, though, because I can't do roller coasters. I don't want to do skydiving or anything. And of course, people say, well, you get to go riots. Well, you should easily be able to do roller coasters. Like, well, okay, during riots, I'm not flying through the air at 100 miles per hour, about to be featured in the next Final Destination film.
I want to talk about the riots because you were at all the George Floyd riots, the Antifa riots. You've been to more riots than I can count. My experience in attending these, which is much, much, much less than yours, as big of a jerk as I am, and I don't have to explain that to you, sometimes I come away feeling sorry for a lot of the people who are there because they are so twisted, mentally ill, whatever label you want to put on it, and just messed up beyond belief. Now, I'm not expecting you to feel a bunch of sympathy for someone chucking a Molotov cocktail with a Foot Locker, but do you understand what I'm saying? Has that ever hit you?
Yeah, I mean, you see it because they have this, obviously, this hatred that's coming from somewhere, and they blame the United States, they blame Trump. You know, there's a personal motivation. Just like me, obviously, I do riot reporting for a job, but there's a personal motivation to it because I want to be out there. And it's the same thing for them, too. Like, they want to be out there because there's something that's pushing them. And, yeah, they have these radical ideologies that are filling this void that I think they're trying to figure out to make sense of the world, right? And if you're religious, you know, as I am, you understand that through a kind of a biblical worldview. But if you reject that and you're seeing the twisted world as it is, there's going to be a lot of radicalization that fills that void to come up with that reason for it.
Do you get the sense, I understand most of these people are masked at all times for obvious reasons, but do you ever get the sense that you're running into the same dirtball in Seattle that you're running into in Chicago, that you're running into in Kenosha? Do you get the sense that these people have frequent flyer cards?
You know, it is kind of hard, but I would say that it's not out of the possibility because actually you brought up Kenosha and we're here in Wisconsin. Yeah. I remember reading a story. There was a van that was stopped that was coming from Seattle or from the Washington State. That I believe, if I'm remembering the story correctly, it's been 4 years, but it was like an anarchist group that was making their way down to Kenosha, and police stopped them because they were filling up all these gas canisters. Cops were saying, "Hey, what are you filling all these gas canisters for?" So I think it does happen. It's not on a large scale. It's not like 1,000 people from one. But would not be surprised if there is kind of. I mean, 'cause all you need is a squad, right? I mean, you know how it doesn't take a whole lot to get things going in certain places. So, just as much as I was able to travel to places in 2020, for example, I think some people were able to.
And you're Mexican, which is impressive. What?
Yeah.
I mean, you're Mexican and you're short and you're still able to get around. I think that's awesome.
Well, I would say no joke. Being brown does help infiltrate.
Does it really? I was making a joke.
It does because they look at me and they just automatically assume, oh, he's on our side.
Well, clearly, he's one of us.
Yeah, clearly he's not white. So and do I lean into it? Yeah, I kind of do. But I gotta infiltrate them somehow. So
Julio. Appreciate you as always, my brother. Semper Fi,
yeah,
man.
Semper Fi.
All right. So we have an entire hour left. We have some updates, and I'm going to warn you, they actually somehow continue to get worse. The story gets worse about the attempted assassination of Trump. They had a closed-door meeting today, Secret Service, FBI, and there's one part of this that is, wow. Get your conspiracy hat on because this story gets worse and worse and worse the more we know. We're going to talk about that. We have Jack Posobiec next hour, Navy SEAL on next hour, a bunch of stuff. But remember to get your questions for tomorrow emailed in to Jesse@jessekellyshow.com. We'll be back.